Well, hi, Florida Prepper back with you today. Testing more of our Mountain House 14-year-old Mountain House pouches that we received. Today we'll be doing Mexican style rice and chicken. Again, these show that they're out of date in 2010, but I have just gotten word from Mountain House that indeed they have changed the expiration dates even on the pouches to 30 years. So even though this says it's expired, Mountain House says it's still good. And so far, as you've seen in our other videos, I'd have to agree with them. Well, today we're testing this Mexican style rice and chicken. I'm gonna get on with it. It says to add 2 cups of hot water, and as always, make sure it is as hot as you can get it, boiling obviously. Simply ripping open the pouches. We've got the great Ziploc piece in there, and always remember to take out that oxygen absorber. Here's what it looks like in the bag. Lots of seasoning and beans. Looks pretty good. So we're going to add our 2 cups of water. Ooh, that's hot. Make sure you stir it well. Get it down into the corners. Don't want to have any dry spots as we rehydrate it. Well, it smells pretty good already. Go ahead and Ziploc that shut. Always read on the back of your pouch how long you need to rehydrate this for. Usually they'll give you a range of time. This one says 5 to 7 minutes. I usually go 10, maybe a little longer, especially with rice and noodles. Just make sure they get really hydrated. So we're gonna come back to you after we get that set up and it sets up and hydrates. While we're waiting for that to hydrate, 7 to 8 minutes it says, we should talk about freeze-dried food and portion sizing. A lot depends, of course, on the person. The Mountain House pouch you'll see here says 2 servings, makes 20 ounces. But I really believe that in an emergency situation with stress and the energy that would be expended that just to survive or cope might be a little light. You might want to have that as 1 serving. So I encourage you, when you're doing your food preps, that you maybe double or at least multiply somewhat the serving sizes that are suggested on the pouches. You don't want to be caught short. Much better to have too much food or too many calories than not enough. Also, you want to take into consideration dietary requirements. Some people are very sensitive to salt. There are low sodium packages, or you can make your own. If you want to invest in your own freeze dryer, I have a Harvest Right freeze dryer. You can freeze dry whatever food that you prepare and eat normally, which is great. The downside of that is that it takes some time, and a freeze dryer is very expensive, several $1,000s depending on the size. And one thing that concerns me is how well do I get the product sealed and put get enough oxygen absorbers in there and make sure that they don't fail. So those are all things to consider when you're trying to decide if you're going to buy product like Mountain House, Honeyville, or one of the many other brands that are out there, or try to prepare your own. And freeze drying is totally different than dehydrating. A dehydrator just simply cooks the moisture out of something. Freeze drying, as you see with the Mountain House products, takes all the moisture out using a process called sublimation, which keeps the product intact, just removes the moisture, and lets it rehydrate very well and keeps it very tasty. And it also gives you those long storage times, 25, 30 years we're finding. So that's something you'll have to consider for yourself, the cost of a freeze dryer and the size, the room it takes up and the expense of a freeze dryer. Typically takes about 20 hours or more for a freeze dryer cycle to produce maybe enough to fill a couple of number 10 cans, depends on what you're freeze drying. So you might want to look into that. Harvest Right is the producer of the freeze dryer I have. I don't know of any other affordable home ones, but you might want to look into that one. We'll be back when this is ready. Well, it's been 8 minutes, so let's give it a try. While I was waiting, I was looking at the label here. It says it has tomatoes, peppers, and olives. I am not an olive fan, but the last time I remember having this, I don't think you can taste the olives, but we're gonna check. Also in the back, I noticed, here's the nutritional information. 320 calories per serving, 2 servings in there, so 640 calories in the whole pouch. It's a good amount of calories, a little less than I thought. I'm gonna dump this out in a bowl so we can see it. Now, you can eat these right out of the pouch, which is very convenient. You don't have any dishes to clean. And sometimes it's a little more appealing if you don't see it, especially if you remember the blueberry crumble or granola. That was a little purple, but let's take a look. It's hydrated well. You can really see the beans and rice in there. There's more than a whole bowl full. Get a good view of that. Not bad looking, just what you would expect if you made it yourself. Well, let's give it the taste test. That's the important thing. Got some beans and rice in there. See how well it hydrated. Very good. I don't taste olives. Has a distinct texture with the rice and the beans and the peppers. I like the peppers in there. They add a little color and some flavor. If you're on a low salt diet, this tastes a little salty. I'll have to check the nutritional label to see how much sodium's in there. But 14 years from manufacturing date. According to the label, 9 years out of date, but with the new Mountain House expiration dates, it's only about halfway through its expiration. So I can say that it's held up very well. So this is the Mexican style rice and chicken from Mountain House. I can highly recommend it. I hope you'll watch our other videos and subscribe on the links above or below. And watch all our reviews of our Mountain House pouch products. These are all from a cache of 14-year-old Mountain House.